Hi, welcome. This is our student self-care seminar, and this is brought to you by the counseling team at IMS, and we're going to start off with some introductions. My name is Ms. Klein, and I'm one of the counselors at Islander Middle School, and I work with students and families whose last names are A through G.
Hi, I'm Miss Phillips. I'm new here. I'll be seeing all students and working with Mr. Brown.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Goldstein. I work with students whose last name is H through O.
I'm Mrs. Dash. I work with students and families with the last names P through Z.
And I'm Mr. Brown, the Mercer Island Youth and Family Services Counselor, and I get to work with all students.
So the student self-care seminar, just to give you a little overview, is we're going to go through some ideas for coping skills and some ways for you to take a challenge to improve on those coping skills. So if you look at this graphic we have up here, we thought it was appropriate for middle school students since most middle schoolers really value their phones. And so if you see it says you wouldn't let this happen to your phone, so don't let this happen to you either. So that's what this entire seminar is about, is taking care of yourself. So we'll talk a little bit about what self-care is. So self-care is an activity that we do deliberately in order to take care of our mental, emotional, and physical health. It's not something that we force ourselves to do or something we don't enjoy doing, but self-care is something that refuels us and rather than takes from us. And it really ties into this concept of resilience. You may or may not have heard that term before, but resilience is when things go wrong. Resilience is what helps you to cope and get through hard times. And sometimes it can make you even stronger. So we are in difficult times for sure right now, and taking care of yourself is so important, but sometimes we don't know how to do that. And so there's lots of different ways we can start thinking about taking care of ourselves, and sometimes it takes practice to figure out what works for us. So there's some ideas up here on this slide, and of course there'll be some ideas throughout this seminar, but some ideas are exercising and getting outside, taking deep breaths, writing in a journal, and the rest of our counselors will talk about a few other skills that you can develop for coping.
So another skill that we'll talk about is mindfulness, which is this idea that you can slow down and really focus in the present moment with how you're feeling. It can be especially helpful when you are having a hard moment or a hard emotion come up. You can slow down, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and really tune into what's going on. So it can be a great skill to be working on. So this is a 2.5-minute video that's going to highlight some things about mindfulness.
You may have heard this word mindfulness. It's become something of a buzz phrase of late. I'm going to give you one simple, serviceable definition, which is this. Mindfulness is the ability to know what's happening in your head at any given moment without getting carried away by it. Imagine how useful this could be. Just as an example, driving down the road and somebody cuts you off in traffic. How do you normally react? I think most of us, we normally react by having a thought, which is, I'm pissed. And then what happens next? You immediately, habitually, reflexively inhabit that thought. You actually become pissed. There's no buffer between the stimulus and your reaction. With just a little bit of mindfulness, in that same situation, you might notice my chest is buzzing, my ears are turning red, I'm having a starburst of self-righteous thoughts, I'm getting angry. But you don't necessarily have to act on it and chase that person down the road, screaming at them with your kids in the back of the car thinking you've gone nuts. Now, you might be thinking, don't I need to get angry sometimes? Aren't I justified? I would say yes, but probably not as much as you think. The proposition here is not that you should be rendered by mindfulness into some lifeless, non-judgmental blob. The proposition is that you should learn how to respond wisely to things that happen to you, rather than just reacting blindly. And that, my friends, is a superpower. How do you get it? The way to get it is through meditation. I believe that meditation and mindfulness are the next big public health revolution. In the 1940s, if you told somebody you were going running, they would have said, who's chasing you? But then what happened next? The scientists swooped in, they showed that physical exercise is really good for you, and now all of us do it, and if we don't, we feel guilty about it. And that's where I think we're headed with mindfulness and meditation. It's going to join the pantheon of no-brainers like brushing your teeth, eating well, and taking the meds your doctor prescribed for you. Let me just close by saying, mindfulness is not going to solve all of your problems. It's not going to render your life a nonstop parade of unicorns and rainbows. Nonetheless, this is a superpower, and one that is accessible by you immediately.
So next we wanted to draw your attention to some helpful apps that are available to you in the self-service area on your student iPad. If you go in and you search for Stop, Breathe, and Think, that's the first app that I'm going to talk about, and it's actually now called My Life. But this app is a great app for mindfulness and meditation. It helps you find your quiet place. It's recommended for students who are feeling a lot of emotions, including anxious, anger, hopeful, or really anything in between. This can also help with sleeplessness. When you open the app, you take a short survey of how you're feeling, and then you're presented with a few videos that lead you through guided relaxation exercises. The other app that I'm going to talk about is the Virtual Hope Box. The Virtual Hope Box contains simple tools for helping students with coping, relaxation, distraction, and positive thinking. When you open the app, you're given 4 options: distract me, inspire me, relax me, or coping tools. The coping tools area is nice because you can customize it for your specific needs. Depending on your needs that day, you can choose one of the 4 areas to help you get through a hard time.
And I want to talk to you about something called a mental health questionnaire. And just when we're done with this seminar, we'll give you a chance to do an activity that lets you reflect and take inventory on how well you're managing the parts of your mental health that you can. And just to be very clear, there are some pieces of your mental health that you do have some control over. Those include nutrition, coping skills, sleep, and exercise. While you certainly can't control everything going on around you right now, it is important that you recognize there are some things that you can manage for yourself. So we will have this quiz, and it's a self-assessment. So what you'll do is answer a series of questions. There are 12 of them, and you'll answer whether or not the statement on the sheet is true or false for you. Definitely there will be occasions where you're like, well, I'm a little bit true, a little bit false. And we're just going to suggest that you choose the answer that is more often the appropriate response to that. And of course it can change, and there's really no wrong answer. But the goal of this assessment is just to allow you to get a better sense of which element of your mental health could you give more attention to try to improve the way that you feel. There are 4 subsections, as you can see. And at the bottom of the attachment that is pushed out with the seminar, there's actually a scoring guide. And so there are point values associated with either true or false. And in each subsection, you'll get a score that ranges from 3 to 6. And what we want you to do is figure out which of the 4 areas is the area that has the highest number for you. The higher the number, the more obvious that should be that is an area of your mental health that could use a little extra attention. This is not a diagnostic tool by any means. We don't want you to be feeling badly about this. You're probably doing pretty good, but there's always things you can do to make improvements.
Harry, you gotta unmute. It's okay. We're going to keep going.
We'll keep going. And sorry about that technical difficulty. So taking a look at each of these areas, take a look and think about these are your tools to stay mentally healthy. And whether it's sleep, exercise, coping, or nutrition, we want you to look at the ones, maybe you got a 5 or a 6 on that score. You just know you want to improve in that area. And especially with sleep and coping, there are some specific apps that you can use. When I take this assessment, I know I need to work on my coping and nutrition. Especially last week with all that smoke, I found myself feeling just not in a great place. So I really focused on thinking about things I'm grateful for, and spending time with people that I enjoy being with, reaching out to friends. So we want you to do that and take this and think about it as a mental health challenge. And we're going to reach out to your PE and health teachers and see if they're taking the challenge. And maybe you can build this into some of the work you're doing for those classes. So with all of this, we want you to think about self-care and growth. And if you're taking care of yourself, using these tools, we know you can flourish even with the challenges that we're all facing right now.